Hello, today we are doing section 2.2, solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. So our objective for today's lesson is you're going to be able to solve inequalities using addition and subtraction. So first we need to talk about a little bit of vocabulary. Equivalent inequalities has the word almost equal in it. Equivalent inequalities are inequalities that have the same solution. Okay, so if you have two inequalities that have the exact same solution, we call them equivalent. Okay, so in much the same way that you would solve an equality, let's say x plus 3 equals negative 4. You would solve this by using the subtraction property of equality. You would subtract a 3 from both sides. We're going to do very similar things than if this was not an equal sign, it was a less than sign instead. Okay, so but we have those same type of rules for inequalities. And the first one is the addition property of equality. So if I have an inequality, let's say negative 4 is less than 10. Okay, we agree that that is a true inequality. Negative 4 is in fact less than 10. If I add, let's say 2 to both sides, we're going to add 2, and we're going to add 2 to this one. So we'll add 2, okay? So now we have a negative 2 and a 12. It's still true to use a less than sign in between, okay? So really what we've shown here is adding the same thing to both sides, adding the same value to each side of an inequality produces an equivalent inequality. Okay, in more general terms, if I know A is less than B, so I know I have some number A less than B. If we add a C to both sides, A plus C is going to be less than B plus C because the thing we're adding is the same on both sides. So we can use this rule now to help us solve inequalities. So here we have x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. So if I don't know what to do, a lot of times I like to cover up and cross out that greater than. And if this wasn't equal to, what would we do? Well, we would add 6 to both sides. We're going to add 6, add 6. So then we'd have x is greater than or equal to 10 plus 6, 16. So it's a greater than or equal to, okay? And then now we want to graph the solution. So to graph this, I'm going to need a number line. So I want to shade all of the numbers. This means all numbers that are greater than or equal to 16. So I'm going to need to mark a 16 on here. 0 would be down here. And since it's greater than or equal to, we're going to have a solid dot. And we want all the numbers that are greater than 16, so we're going to shade this direction. So any number up here, and it's always good to check. Let's see, a number up here would be 20. If I put a 20 in here, 20 minus 6, is that greater than or equal to 10? Yes, it is. 20 minus 6 is 14. Yep, it worked. There's my check. So I picked a number that I had shaded, checked it, it worked. So there is my solution. There's my graph. Okay, we're going to do practice a little differently. I want you to do these 3 your turn problems. Okay, so do these 3 problems, and you're going to be turning them in as part of your practice for this section. So do those 3. Okay, so pause the video, do those 3. All right, welcome back. I hope those went well. Okay, we're now going to look at the subtraction property of equality. So the subtraction property of equality is very similar in that I have 2 numbers A and B with A less than B. Oh, I think I want to move A. Let's put A up here. Now, if I subtract the same number from each side, so I'm going to go backwards, subtract C, subtract C. Okay, so if I subtract C from both sides, okay, this A minus C is still going to be less than B minus C. So A minus C is still less than B minus C. So it's very similar to our last one in that subtracting the same value from both sides produces an equivalent inequality. Oh, and I guess we probably should, let's go back and look, talking about that vocabulary, equivalent equality back here. We did produce an equivalent inequality. So this guy here, this and this are what we call equivalent inequalities because they do have the same solution set. These numbers up here work for this guy, but these numbers up here also work for this guy. So they are equivalent. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and we want to solve each inequality. Okay, and graph the solution, sorry. Here we go. Solve each inequality, graph the solution. So again, if this was an equal sign, here what would we do? Y plus 8. Well, we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So here I'd have a y, 5 minus 8, which 5 minus 8 is negative 3. So think of that as plus and negative. So here we want all y's that are less than or equal to negative 3. Again, here I've produced an equivalent inequality. This and this are equivalent. Now I just need to graph the solution. So I'm going to need a number line. I'm going to need negative 3, which means here's my 0. We need a solid dot because it's equal to. And I want all the numbers, all the y's that are less than that negative 3. So we would shade this direction. And again, it's always good to check. Let's see, down here, negative 10. If I put a negative 10 up here, yep, that would give me negative 10 plus negative 2 is less than or equal to 5. Yep, it worked. Okay, next one. Okay, so here we have negative 8 is less than or equal to 1.4 plus m. So we're solving this. We're solving it for m, but m's over here. I want to move, for a lot of us, we'd be way more comfortable if m was over here. First, I'm going to flip-flop these guys. Since I'm adding, I can do that. M plus 1.4. Okay, and then now I want to flip-flop. I want to move this guy over here and this guy over there. So I can do that. M plus 1.4, negative 8. But now, since I flip-flopped these over, this guy's got a flip-flop too. So now it's a greater than, because it still needs to open up to what it opened up to up here. Okay, so now m plus 1.4, so I'm going to have to subtract 1.4. Ooh, I don't like that. Looks like a divide. Minus 1.4, subtract 1.4. So m is greater than negative 8 minus 1.4. I'm thinking of that plus a negative, so it'd be negative 9.4. m is greater than negative 9.4. So let's go ahead, let's draw my number line. Here's 0, here's negative 9.4. It's an strictly greater than, so we want to open dot. We want all our m's to be bigger than, so up this way. So then I'm going to pick a number up here. I don't know, let's pick the number 2. And I'm going to put it back up into the original equation. Negative 8 is less than 1.4 plus 2. Negative 8 is less than, what, 3.4? Yep, it worked. Always check it back up in the original equation, just in case maybe and somehow when you're flipping here, you goofed up. Okay, we want to catch that. Okay, so now again, for your practice, I want you to do these 3 problems as well, these 3, for your practice, and then there'll be a few others for you to do to practice your skills, and then you can take the quiz. Best of luck.